Hello. Hey,
Hi,
everybody.
Steph.
Hey, Shwani. So, welcome, everyone. We're back. Exciting times. Season 8. I can't believe how long we've been doing this show. And we have got a super fun topic to get you started with. We're going to be talking all about EC2 optimization today. So, we're going to get into that in a second. But before we do, just a couple of parish announcements kind of thing. Few things. I'm going to be at reInvent. So, we just got our information about reInvent. So I'm just going to throw this on the screen. So just so you know, these are my sessions. I will be sharing sessions that all of the FinOps sessions that are going on across reInvent when we've collected all those, but mine are there. So please feel free to register and check those out. I will pop all the links below in the YouTube video. As well as that, one other thing to promote, I'm going to be doing a webinar with FinOut next on the 17th of October. So it's going to be a fun little webinar talking all about optimization. So I'm just going to pop this in the chat, doing classic self-promotion. So feel free to come along and join in, ask some questions and hang out with me there. But Shivani, let's get into our topic for the day. So do you want to give everyone a quick 1-minute origin story before we start?
Yes, Steph.
Go for it.
Awesome. Good day, everyone. This is Shivani Reddy. I'm a senior TAM based in India, Bangalore, live from the AWS office today, right? So we are here today for a quick, learning fundamental about the cost dimensions. So that's what we are going to learn today. And this is around a very popular compute service called EC2, the Elastic Compute Cloud that we all use it.
Love it. Okay, cool. So today, as she said, we are going to chat a little bit about the cost dimensions of EC2, so like what's going to drive the spend. And then we're going to do some demos, of course, because it's episode 1 of the season. We've had a mini tech issue, which is classic. So what we're going to do is we're flipping it around. So previously, Shivani was going to demo and I was going to ask questions. Now she's going to lead me through doing something. So it's going to be a bit fun. But before we start, I wanted to try something new. So we have this, now guys, you've got to bear with me. We have a Twitch poll, and I want to try using this system. So anybody in the chat, hopefully this will work. So the idea is we're going to go live with this Twitch poll, and, if it works. So many tech issues. Oh, how do you make this thing work? Oh, here we go. What we're going to do is I'm going to share this screen. And I want to see if anyone's going to reInvent. So comment in the chat, 1 for yes, 2 for no. Either as in like the number 1, the number 2. And we will see if, so I'm going, so where is it? Yes, it's 1. Cool guy, got some 1s, got some 2s. Oh, sorry for the 2 guys. Anyone else watching 1 or 2, whether you're going? Awesome. Okay, so we've got a couple of people going to reInvent. Okay, cool. I will see you there. So there we go. We've got this new functionality to allow us to do a little bit of Twitch polling. So hopefully we'll be using these in the future to ask you questions about things like sessions and content. So keep your eyes out for that. Okay, enough with me messing around. Shivani, let's talk about EC2 cost drivers. So why don't you run us through a couple of cost drivers that you see actually cause cost?
Definitely, Steph. So I believe all of us in our day-to-day, all our the cloud users, all of us use this EC2 compute service. But have you ever thought when you launch a EC2 instance, there are a lot of cost dimensions associated with it? Have you ever thought when you launch one EC2 instance, there are multiple different attributes that attributes to the whole cost of an EC2 service? So let's talk about these cost dimensions. The first and foremost thing would be the instance type. The instance type is the type of EC2 instance that you're using. So it could be of any family you're using. There are some EC2 instance type families that are like available as under free tier, but there are most of the the instance type families that incur cost. Likewise, we have something called operating system. So the operating system that your EC2 instance will be running with. So you have operating systems spanning Linux, you have Windows and many others, right? So every operating system has some cost associated with it. So we have to be mindful of about that. Coming to the region. So when you log into a console, you choose a region. Now it is up to you which region you choose, but you'll also be mindful of about that particular region where you're launching your EC2 instance can have a different or a varied cost, right? Next, the tenancy plays a key or a vital role while you're launching your EC2 instance. You should be mindful of what tenancy you're choosing when launching an EC2 instance type, whether it's a dedicated or whether it is shared tenancy, right? Next,
Mhm.
launch type. Now, when you're using a launch type, you need to make sure that which launch type you're using. Is it a spot or is it a non-demand? So you have to
Mhm.
be mindful of what type of launch types you're using. Going further, the usage. It is important for you to note or keep a tab of how much or for how much time you're using or running your EC2 instance for. So, for instance, if you are a developer and you just use it for like a span of 8 hours, you need to be mindful of turning them off. Otherwise, you incur a cost for the number of hours your EC2 instance is running for. Next is the data transfer, the amount of data that is transferred while you're doing some transactions, downloading data from the internet or sending data from your EC2 instance to the internet also costs or incurs cost. Some other dimensions or some more dimensions associated with your EC2 would be the EBS volume type. The type of EBS volume, for instance, GP2 or GP3 can also
Mhm.
or will surely incur cost, right? The size of the volume associated with your EC2 instance incurs cost. And lastly, the very recent announcement that AWS made, all the public IPv4 addresses associated with your EC2 instance is going to be charged or will incur a cost starting February 1st, 2024. So these are some of the
Yeah.
cost dimensions associated with EC2 that all of us should be mindful of when launching an EC2 in your accounts.
That was a very concise. I'm going to crop that because that was very like concise. These are all the things, especially if you pick if you're just arbitrary, like, oh, I don't know what to start with. Think about all these things. A couple of people in the chat, you got a nice welcome. Hi, Yusha. They're giving you a nice welcome. And yes, if you watch my build live last week with Darko, you will know picking GP3 was the through line of that episode. So that is a
True.
great place to start. Anything under a terabyte, GP3 is the way to go. But awesome. So that was a very concise. I especially think things like region are often forgotten about when it comes to, because you have to think about where your location is for sometimes like legal issues, or also when you're I've forgotten the word now, when you've got to connect stuff. My mind has gone blank. You know what I mean? But there are cheaper regions. So if you were just pulling stuff, maybe doing some data processing, or if you are kind of concise putting something in a box, think about the region because it will affect your pricing.
Right.
Okay. So we wanted to move on to thinking about how we optimize and how we actually use these things that you've just spoken about into a full kind of service. So we're going to go through how to use pricing calculator. And as I said at the start, if you just joined us, we had a small tech issue. And so I'm going to share my screen and Giovanni is going to guide me through using pricing calculator. It's been a while since I used pricing calculator. So Shivani, I will be your arm on my screen and you just tell me where you would like me to actually click, and we'll do that with my pricing calculator. I don't know if you
Sure,
want to give a
Steph.
quick summary of what pricing calculator is.
Okay. So let's say you would like to, any of us are planning to launch or bring in an application that has about 20, 30 servers together, right? So now you want to understand how much each server can cost you, and which has all these cost dimensions that we've discussed so far, right? So pricing calculator gives you an overall summary, a holistic view of how much cost that will be incurred for these many number of servers that you're going to you know migrate as part of
Mhm.
this application migration to the cloud. So that's where pricing calculator can really help you. Yep.
Okay. All right. So if we're going to estimate out an instance, what do we do?
Yeah, we can go to create estimate. And then Now we are going to choose the region of our choice. So let's choose our famous region. That's North Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Virginia. Oh, let's go for. Should we go for something a bit weird? Actually, why don't we go for
Anything. I mean,
Spain? I want to go on. I'd like to go on
okay.
holiday. It's what we used to call it in my old company. We'd be like, "Where do you want to go on holiday?" Chat. What's your favorite region? Where do you deploy? I'm always intrigued because I always deploy in Ireland. So comment in the chat. Where do you like to deploy your resources? Okay, where are we going
Awesome.
next?
Yeah. Now we select the service EC2. So which is what we are going to create an estimate for, as we need to get, let's say, 20 servers. Yeah. So we select the service EC2.
Just to say, Aaron said US West 2 all the way. Favoritism of one specific region. Love it.
Nice.
Okay.
Awesome. So we give a short description of anything of your choice. Just
Which EC2.
awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
So now comes a very important aspect. Like we need to be very clear of what specifications our instances will be, right? To start with, we discussed tenancy. So our instances will be part of the shared tenancy. That means we do not need a dedicated host or a server where we would like to launch all our EC2s. So we are okay to share a server or a rack where our instances can lie. So shared instances will be our tenancy. Next, operating system. Now, what is the operating system of your 20 servers? So again, so let's choose anything. So let's maybe go for Red Hat. Yeah, Red Hat
Oh,
Enterprise Linux with HA. Yeah,
perfect.
awesome. So considering our workload will be of constant usage, right? So we will just select the workloads its constant usage, but we have other usages like the daily spike traffic or weekly or monthly. It's again depends on the type of workload that you're going to bring in, right? Now, our
What
require
happens if you choose these? Oh, it's for the price. Oh, sorry, I forgot we were
right,
doing the price. Just as a note on this, if you are going to do kind of establish these things, I think a lot of the time with customers, they probably put in pricing. Oh, I'll only use it for like work days, but then they never install scheduler or they never turn things off. So if you are going to use this pricing tool, really consider, are you actually going to turn it off or are you going to leave it on 24/7? So yeah,
correct,
go continue. Sorry.
right. And next, the number of instances. So for this example, let's take about 10 instances that are needed for our application. Yeah.
Mhm.
And now moving ahead. Okay, we just
On my
lose the
screen.
screen share?
That was
Yeah,
my fault. I accidentally lost my screen. My like hot corners are like on the bottom right hand side, so I have to be really careful.
no
Anyway,
problem.
sorry, continue.
Great. Now, so let's select the instance type. So as we discussed in our first EC2 cost dimension, the type of the instance that you choose, right, that matters. So under this, we will choose one of the instance families. We'll go to the latest generation or maybe the very recent generation of the instance types. Let's choose as M5s. Or
Let's
you're always good to choose the graviton instances as well, but for this
Oh,
example,
okay.
let's choose M5. Yeah, great.
Or we could
All right.
even I could go for an M7i, which is the
Yeah,
newest of the new. Let's try that one out. Okay, go for it.
awesome. Yeah, we scroll down, so we have the instance types. You can also choose the number of vCPUs or the memories, so whatever that is required for your workload. Now, it is important for us to choose the options that we have. So would you like to go with compute savings plan or the on demand or the spot instances? So at this stage, since we are not sure of what we are going to choose, so let's go with on demand. So that gives us a clear cost of what a instance type is incurring a particular cost, right?
Mhm.
So we go with on demand. Next. Yeah. And then we
Oh,
can scroll down. Yeah.
yeah.
And one other important cost dimension that we need to be mindful of, that is the EBS, nothing but the volume type. Yeah. So since we all know GP3s are something that gives you accelerated performance and you can achieve up to about 20% of cost savings, let's go with GP3. Yeah.
Cool.
So, and coming to the IOPS. So depending on your application, you can choose any IOPS. Let's say we will just choose about 500 or 1000 IOPS in this case. 5000. Yeah, that's good. Great. And if you need additional the data volumes, if your application requires additional data volumes, you can always choose additional GBs volumes. But in this case, firstly we are going to choose the throughput. So let's make it 300 Mbps. So this is the throughput, and then you can have maybe additional 500 GB of your data
Going
volume.
big. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the snapshot frequency, which again incurs cost if you kind of set the frequency to daily or 2 times in a day or maybe 6 times in a day, completely up to your requirement. Let's choose daily. Yeah.
We'll go daily. We'll be strict.
Yeah. Awesome. And lastly, we have detailed monitoring. So if we need your application to be monitored at the disk and the memory level, then we need to have enabled detailed monitoring. So I don't think so we need it at this stage. If you want it, let's enable it. Otherwise, we can.
We'll leave it. Let's leave it off, because what I might go back in and change it. That'd be quite a good one to alter. So, because detailed monitoring is always a funny one, because I think we found recently an event where our customer had enabled detailed monitoring for all of their dev servers, and I think they saved something like $2,000 a month by taking it off, because they didn't need the frequency. So as a reminder, detailed monitoring, it goes from a 5-minute interval to a 1-minute interval of monitoring, and because you pay for the feature, I think you pay for the feature and for also the processing of logs, it will kind of ×5 your costs. So use it with caution. So let's leave it off and see what the price is like.
Correct. And then we have the data. Yeah, we do we consider the data transfer? Yeah, we can leave this as it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the hot corners, man. This is sorry. I might have to swap my screen share. There we go. Apologies, everyone. Okay, save and add service.
Yes, we can save and add service now.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Okay, so as I view my summary. Okay, yes. So there's our little instance.
And this will be your overall estimate, right, for a monthly cost of $1,000. And if you look at the top, the estimated summary, the cost of the cost of 10 EC2 instances with the required specs that we gave in, it will cost us about 12,200 odd US dollars.
Nice. Okay, why don't we make some tweaks? There's a question in the chat from Aaron that I'll come back to that's about optimizing, some high-level optimization things we can do. But should we see what happens if we change some of these features? So what we'll do is I'll duplicate it. So we've got our original one, and I'll edit this first one. So what do you think would be, what could we change? I would say previously we were on the what did we do? The M7i.
Yeah.
Why don't we do the G?
Yeah.
Yeah. See what that will do. So let's see the update. Now, does that change it? Oh, did I not save it? I think I have to save it. My bad. Where's the numbers? Here we go. M7G. And let's go for a medium update. Oh, this one's more expensive. I think I went for a bigger instance. What was my original size? Does it tell me? Oh, so I think I didn't click on the right one. Apparently I've kept that one as a G. So let's change this one to M7i large update.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we see.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Is that right? It's quite. Can it show me?
It's a small difference. So yes, we see this, right? So we initially saw 12,000 USD for 10 instances with M7G, and now this is increased.
I'm surprised. It shouldn't have. It should
Ideally,
be cheaper.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Why isn't it showing me my summary? M7i. Oh, that's right. Hang on. Yeah, the top one is. Yeah, the top one's G, so that's it. The bottom one's I.
M7i.
Yeah. Sorry, it was my ordering. So the G's cheaper. No one panic. Graviton is cheaper. We didn't just come up with a bug. Oh, can you imagine? Just to kind of, I've seen the people have joined. So if you've joined, we're talking all about how the cost drivers of EC2. So we're using the pricing calculator at the moment to have a look at this. But okay, so what I'll do is I'll change it back to the 7i, and we're going to change the monitoring because I would like to also turn on the detailed monitoring. So let's change that. So okay, so it's not too bad. It's like $20 a month more, which is I thought it'd be more than that. So that's okay. So it's not too crazy by doing that. Okay, cool. All right. So let's pause here. And what I want to do is bring up Aaron's question. So Aaron asks, my team wants to deploy a C7i 8XL for a single instance customer. Besides buying a savings plans for it, how else can I make sure they're doing it economically? So what would be your kind of top tips for Aaron to do?
Awesome. That's a great question, and thanks for sharing that question. So it is very important for all of us to, as I said, be mindful of the type of instance that you're using. But what happens in our day-to-day life is we don't tend to monitor them. Now, what are some of the ways that you can monitor your instances that you've launched already in your account, right? So we have some of the services. One of them would be your compute optimizer. You can look at the compute optimizer recommendations to see whether your instances are rightly provisioned or not. In case if you're not using it with the provision that you've done, for instance, let's say you've configured with high memory, let's say 64 GB, and that's underutilized, you get a notification, or you tend to see this recommendation made on the compute optimizer, and it will also give you a recommendation to right size it with the nearest instance type, with which you can be very economical, and you can save some costs on top of it. Does it answer your question?
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. So number one, use compute optimized to right size. Love it. I think we also just said Graviton if possible, which is always a if possible one. So a nice cost tip. And turning it off. I'm a advocate for turning it off. I spent a lot of time. If anyone saw my build live last week, I made a bad account, which is I think is going to come up a bit more, which I deployed resources in that were unoptimized, and then I figured out how to optimize them. And it was a bit of a fun exercise for me because I always tell people how to optimize, but I don't really spend time optimizing myself. So things like figuring out how to use Instant Scheduler, what tags to use was quite an interesting little process.
Right.
But yeah, turn things off. I'd also say, like we said, checking your detailed monitoring if you need to use that. Or if you could use Spot. We talked a bit about, you mentioned on demand versus Spot as well when we were talking through the original run through. So there's a little bit on... So I think that kind of covers some top tips in which you can optimize. So thank you. We have another question as well. Let's see what we got. Can we see cost optimizer live? No worries. If not, how sweet. Thank you. Thank you, Russ. I think knows. So I think you mean compute optimizer, in which case, yes, we can. We can do that right now. So we'll segue into that nice little segue. So let me share my screen. no worries. You said yes, my bad. But yes, compute optimizer. So let me bear with. Let me remove that and screen share. The fun of changing it console. Here we go. Okay, so this is my account. So we're going to go into my compute optimizer. Do you want to give a quick summary of what compute optimizer is before we get going?
Definitely. Compute Optimizer service helps you give recommendations across all these list of services that you see with respect to EC2 instances, auto scaling groups, EBS volumes, and more, right? So this particular service helps you give recommendations across metrics like CPU utilization, network performance, and if enabled with enhanced metrics, you will also be able to see recommendations across the memory and the disk, especially around EC2, whenever you would like to make a decision about whether you want to right size it, a particular EC2 instances, all these four metrics matters a lot.
Perfect. And I think that I always forget why it's one of those things where it's ECS on Fargate is a new service that's been added to this. So make sure if you use that, check that out. And we've had Rick on a couple of times, who's the PM for Compute Optimizer. So go back and check out any of our back catalog on our YouTube channel, Keys to AWS Optimization on YouTube, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe if you're watching there now. And you can see any of the compute episodes. We'll kind of go through a little bit about this tool. But let's dive into some recommendations. So I always love starting it off with my EC2s. And one of the best things I always find with this is it doesn't just show you under provisioned. It also shows you, it shows you over provisioned, under provisioned, and optimized, as can be seen on the screen. But it gives you that under provisioned one as well. I'm confused, which is always really useful because this is not just about cost. This is also about performance. We want you to have the best performance. So let's dive into this one. So what do you normally look for when you look on this view?
All right. So we see, we look at the findings column here. So there are 4 instances that we have running in the account. Now you see there are 2 instances that say optimized. That means they're running optimally with the right amount of CPU utilization and the right amount of network performance, right? So that's where it says optimized. Now we'll have to also check at findings that states under provision. Now this means that the finding reasons are provided, your CPU is under provision. That means the configured CPU for that particular instance is quite more, and you have room to maybe downsize a particular EC2 instance basis the findings. Again, a note to everyone, it is important to go over each and every metrics, not just CPU and network, but in addition to that, the memory and the disk utilization to take this final decision of, a downsizing an EC2 instance.
And I love the fact that and I've just realized we started a little bit late, so we've got 1 minute left. So I'll go a quick summary on one of my favorite bits is that this shows you your current utilization and your forecast utilization if you do change. This is what these different colors are. So go check out in your account. Also, Aaron's just asked, does memory have anything to do it? Yes, it does. If I look at my Linux with my CloudWatch metric in it, I have enabled the CloudWatch memory metric, and now I can see CloudWatch memories. This will give me a more accurate recommendation with my optimization. So we're coming up to end of the session. Thank you so much. This has been very informative. I love the synopsis at the start. If you didn't catch the start, I'll be chopping it up and put it on LinkedIn and on YouTube. Next week, we are doing a session all about the new Azure CID dashboard, which is super exciting. So thank you so much for joining me today, Shivani. Thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you all next week, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.